John has been kind enough to set my books out on the table in front of me because he doesn't think that that he could in any way compete with them.
No, not
but
at all.
I, on the other hand, feel that John's presence should be recorded and is far more interesting than
Thank you,
pictures of
Ted.
my book. I'm very glad to have him here. I hope he comes again. And thank you very much for the money. But
And you'll be getting rid of me today at 2 o'clock.
I'm delighted that you've had a good time here and that it seems to have been useful to you.
I certainly did, Ted, and before I read anything, I want to say thank you for having me.
Yes.
But one thing is more, it's light-hearted, but for me it's serious, and that is a letter that I found in my attic a few years ago. And that is a letter that was written 30 years ago by your good self. And I should preamble by saying that and I have it here on a bottle because I think I was talking to Anne and she thought, yes, it was the perfect message in a bottle, because the reason you wrote it was in response to a letter that I wrote to you back in 1989, having read your book Riding Home, which I believe is out of print now, but it was that book more than Jupiter's or any of your other books that got me, because I had come back from my own journey, and when I read Riding Home, it said a lot to me. So I wrote a letter to you. I found out your address in California, and I wrote, I think, how many pages was it?
No, I have no idea.
10 pages.
I'm still reading it, actually. No, it was. I don't remember it.
It was a book, but you wrote this in response to that, and I think it's a very significant letter. Actually, I think it's probably the best piece of writing you've ever done. But the date is the 25th of October, 1989, and I'll read. Dear John, your letter took forever to reach me. It took long enough just leaving you, I see. And I've been slow to get to it because I saw it would be a long read. Now, having got to the end, I see that it's too late to make the connection a physical one, because I had planned to go to California in 1989 but never made it. You did a good job with that letter, reminding me of feelings or powers I had almost forgotten. I was particularly struck by your description of seeing as knowing. It was a faculty I felt quite familiar with for a time, and its loss is grievous. But it is obviously incompatible with the preoccupations of doing things in a social context. We have both been somewhere quite rare, and the aftermath is troubling. There is no packet of wisdom to be brought back from that place. We got there by dint of extraordinary and somewhat artificial means, which cannot be sustained. And perhaps we will spend the rest of our lives looking for a way back in this more mundane but natural existence. My own efforts have been disappointing so far, but I'm not surprised. I'm not nearly so well equipped to do these daily duties and enjoy their rewards. But at least I know what's possible, and that saves me from the life of silent desperation that others lead. And here is what I think is a beautiful final paragraph. And something does stick, don't you think? Some of those instincts are negotiable. Perhaps people do recognize something different in you, don't they? You have a better grasp of right and wrong and what is valuable. And your final few words, 3 words to me, Ted, back in 1989. Don't be daunted. Yours ever, Ted Simon. Now, when I wrote that, that inspired me. Keep it up a little bit because I want to. Don't be daunted. I certainly wasn't. And 30 years later, I wrote a book, and I want to read my acknowledgement to you at the end of it. I wish to acknowledge, and there are a few people, but there are 2. Dervla Murphy for her inspiration, hospitality, and that very first cup of tea. And Ted Simon for if Dervla Murphy's books opened a door, his Jupiter's travels kicked it down. So Ted, it kicked it down, and it got me, and I'm sure many, many, many other hundreds of people. But it's the letter in the bottle, which I hope you've enjoyed.
It's a nice image. Thank you very much.
And I'll finish with that.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.